Alrighty, CNT120, we're working on our Chapter 3 lab. We're now working on our network layer, or layer 3, IP version 4 addressing. So first part we looked at MAC address. The second part of our lab we're looking at layer 3 network layer address or IP version 4 addressing. Now for the first part we're going to look at some static IP addressing on the Harrisburg side, and then we're eventually going to look at, I'm scrolling down here a little bit, we're eventually going to look at dynamic addressing on the Philadelphia side. Okay, so let's start on the Harrisburg side, and we're going to look at some static addressing. So over here on the Harrisburg side, I'm going to open Harrisburg PC. I'm going to open the desktop. I'm going to open the command prompt and issue an ipconfig command. So Harrisburg PC, we'll go to the desktop, command prompt, and we're going to open or issue the ipconfig command. Now what I'll see is I do have an IP address listed, but this right here, 169.254, that is a PIPA address, automatically privately assigned IP address. What that means is this computer is set for a dynamic addressing. It tried to get a dynamic address and it can't for some reason. Okay, so if I were to take a peek, I'm going to go to the ipconfig part here and take a look. If I do a dynamic address, it'll try to get an IP and it's going to fail out because there is no DHCP server on this network. That's what that actually means. That's what that PIPA address means, if you will. Okay, so right now if I tried to use that, address and communicate with something, it's not routable. So I'm actually going to try to ping the Philadelphia PC 192.168.30.10. Okay, I'm going to go to the command prompt here. I'm going to try to ping 192.168.30.10, and it's just going to sit here in timeout because that is not a routable IP. I can't. The routers do not know what to do with that 169.254. If I try the same thing on the laptop, I'm going to pretty much get the same results. So I'm going to do that real quickly. You're seeing this is timing out, timing out. I'm going to close this out, open the laptop. I'll do an ipconfig. Again, watch your typo in these commands, as you see there. Okay, typo, you'll get an error. 169.254 again, I'll try to ping that 192.168.30.10, the Philadelphia PC that's over there. And again, it's going to time out. That is not a routable IP. This is not a routable IP. So I'm kind of like off on my own little network somewhere, and I'm not part of the bigger network. I can't communicate. So what we want to do is we're going to put a static IP that is usable on the Harrisburg PC and the Harrisburg laptop. So I'll go back to the Harrisburg PC. I'll go to the IP configuration part here. I will pick the option for static, and I will plug in this scheme here. Now, real quickly, we would use static addressing for things like printers, for servers, and devices like that we want to know where they are and they're not moving. We don't often use them too many times on desktops in networks because your average user would not get all this configuration correct. But we do use this a lot in our lab room when we do labs in our lab room. We do a lot of static configuration because we want it to be a certain IP for setting and learning, basically learning and setting things up. So we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to do a 192.168.10.10 for this guy. Again, watch for typos. Watch for typos. One little number off matters. 255.255.255.0. That's our default Class C subnet mask. Here's our 192.168.10.1. Now, this is the address of the router it's attached to. It's literally the address of this Harrisburg router right here, this interface. That's what that gateway address is. And last but not least, we need the DNS server. Well, the DNS server in our network is actually over here. So that 192.168.30.2 address is that DNS server address over there. That's what that is. So let's do that. 192.168.30.2. All right. Now that I have that, I'll open up my command prompt. I'll do an ipconfig. I want to see what I got and verify that I don't have any typos. Okay, there it is right there, 192.168.10.10, subnet mask, gateway, all looks good. So what I'm going to try to do now is, I'll do this while I'm here, I'm going to try to ping the 30.4. I'm going to try to ping the 30.4 while I'm here. Ping 192.168.30.4. That is the web server over on the other side of the network. I might get a timeout on the first one that I send because it's still finding its way, but I should see some successful replies there. And if I were to repeat this, I would see 4 successful replies, which is good. If I see 3 out of 4, I'm still good. It's just the first one took a minute to figure out how to get there. That is good. We are eventually going to save those results. Let me get to the other laptop so I don't forget. Let's do the Harrisburg laptop. We'll open up the IP config. I'm going to slide this over here. And I can do this right here to clear it out. 192.168. This is going to be 10.11 if I remember correctly. And default subnet mask for Class C. 192.168.10.1 is the router we're attached to, and then the DNS server at the other site, 30.2. I will close this. I will open up a command prompt, ipconfig. I have my 192.168.10.11. I'm going to try to ping that other site, the web server at the other site, 192.168.30. What did we say? 30.4. There we go, and we're getting successfuls. So now that we have a valid, usable IP address on this PC, it's able to communicate in the network to the other site, to the Philadelphia site, because I'm using the correct IP and scheme to make this work. Now, what I want to do is I want to capture, I want to save the results from my ping from the Harrisburg PC, and I want to save the ping results from the Harrisburg laptop. So before I go any further, let me go back to my PC here. The results should be there. And if for some reason they are not, just repeat that ping. Okay, I can just repeat that ping, but they're there. So I'm going to open up my text file here. And in my text file, I'm going to put a note here that this is layer 3. And I'm going to say IP version 4, just so I can keep track. And this will be the ping from Harrisburg PC. And then I'm eventually going to have the ping from the Harrisburg laptop. So my first ping result here was from the Harrisburg PC. So I'm going to highlight this ping result right there. I'm going to grab all of it. Right click copy. Come over here, right click paste. And there's that Harrisburg PC ping. And now I'm going to open up the laptop and grab the same result. Back to my command prompt here, and I should have my successful ping down here. If not, just repeat it. Just repeat that ping there. Highlight it all, right-click copy, come here to my text file, and I will come in here, right-click paste. There we go. So there's my static IP version 4. Okay, that's what we have so far. And if I wanted to, I can even keep track up here and say this is my static IP version 4 address. And I will put another note down here that the next thing we're going to be doing is our dynamic IP version 4. That's just to keep yourself organized if that's helpful. All right, I'm going to close that. All right, so we have our our Harrisburg side is set up statically. So and it's in the correct scheme, so it's able to communicate over to Philly. Let's go now over to the Philly side, Philadelphia PC, and the Philadelphia laptop. We're going to open the command prompt ipconfig, and let's take a look what's here. Philadelphia PC, command prompt ipconfig, and I'll see that I do have a 192.160.30.10, and if I look at the laptop, ipconfig again, 192.168.30.11. So these already have IP addresses. And if I look at the IP configuration on these, okay, so I'll go back here to the desktop. They are set up with a static IP. So they have a same setup as we had on the Harrisburg side, static IP addressing. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to try to apply a dynamic IP. Let me close these out just to declutter my window a second. Over here on the Philadelphia side, I do have a DHCP server right here. So we are going to take the static setting off and put a dynamic on and try to get an IP address from our DHCP server. So we are going to, on our Philadelphia PC, we're going to set it for dynamic, and then we'll do the same thing on the laptop. Okay, so Philadelphia PC, IP config. We're going to go to dynamic, and we're going to try to pick up an IP address from our DHCP server. Oh no, it timed out. And it even shows you right here, DHCP failed, a PIPA is being used. Boom, 169.254. Okay, let's try the laptop to see if we get any different result. IP config, DHCP, see if we get any different result over here. And we don't. Okay, so what that tells us is our DHCP server is not handing out IP addressing to the devices on our network. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to that server and make sure that service is turned on. So I'm going to click on the DHCP server over here, and I'm going to click the Services tab. This is our server right here. I'm going to click on the Services tab, and over here on the left is all kinds of services that it has that it can run. We're going to open the DHCP tab, and we're going to see if this service is on. And right now, if I look over here, this service is off. So I have a whole bunch of configuration down here for IP addressing. Don't alter this, but it's all here configured. It's just the service is off. So let's try turning this service on to see if it'll now start responding to DHCP requests from our clients in the network. So I'll close my server out, and now I'm going to go back to my PC, and I'm going to go to my laptop. Let's go back to the PC, and we're going to go to IPconfig here. And I'm going to cycle it to static and then back to dynamic and see if we can pick up an IP. And I do. I now have a DHCP request that was successful, and it filled all that in for me. That's what's normally set up on a network for clients or users, so they don't have to know all this. That gets filled in for them. I'm going to close that out. I'll go to the laptop and make sure it is set up as well. And actually, it's been sitting here long enough that it actually picked one up for us. But I could cycle that to static and back to dynamic. And you'll see it most likely is going to pick up the same IP as before. If it changes, it's not a big deal. But there it now has a dynamic IP address on this guy as well. All right, good. So now, let's take a look. And we want to look at IPconfig on our PC and our laptop. And we want to look at IPconfig all, because we actually want to see that this is set for dynamic. So command prompt. IPconfig/all. Watch your syntax. Hit the space bar to get the rest to show. And what I'm looking at is here's our IPv4 address, subnet mask gateway, and this even shows you the address of the DHCP server. Woo! Okay. So I'm gonna capture this. I'm really only concerned with the top part. I'm not really concerned with the Bluetooth. So I'm gonna copy this. I'll go to my text file, and I'll put a note over here that this is my Philadelphia PC dynamic address, and I'll paste that in, and there it shows me that dynamic address. And then I'm going to copy that down here and make this Philadelphia laptop, because we're going to do the same thing for the laptop. And I'm going to get the address off of that guy as well. So I'll close out the Philadelphia PC here. And we're going to go to the laptop, and we'll grab its result as well. IPconfig /all. And there's our 192.168.30.177. Again, getting it from the DHCP server, which is what we want to see. And we just want these results here. I'm not concerned with the Bluetooth, so I'm just going to highlight those, and I'll paste that in for my Philadelphia laptop. All right, I'm going to save my text file. I'll save my packet tracer while I'm at it too, so I don't forget. And let's look at our directions here. We now have the results from our Philadelphia PC dynamic address and our Philadelphia laptop dynamic address as well. And while we're here, we want to do a ping to the web server on each of these to check its connectivity. I will show you that in the next podcast.